So it gives me the most inbox pleasure ever to have today's guest on the Pub and Restaurant Rebirth series. And it is the incredibly knowledgeable email and CRM expert from AIRSHIP and Toggle, Mr. Dan Brookman. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Mark. How you doing? All right.
Good. I'm good. Sunny Brighton. I'm squinting a little at the screen. The sun's coming in. So the only trouble is the windows are closed for recording purposes. So it might get a little bit sauna-esque later. But no, great to see you. I mean, we've had such a long, great chat already. But I was just so keen to tap into my friends and my network's knowledge to get deep into some of the areas that I maybe don't know so much about, to share some hacks and tips about all you can do to have incredible email and CRM in a 101 fashion.
Well, thanks very much for asking me. I'll whiz through this deck. Hopefully, I hope that people find it of interest, and obviously we'll get it shared with people as well. So a little bit about me, I guess, to kick things off. Just go into a bit of my background. So when I was 22, I bought a swimming pool, and I bought derelict swimming baths in the outskirts of Sheffield, in a place called Hillsborough. It wasn't my idea. It was a couple of mates of mine said that this building had come up for sale and somebody should buy it and turn it into a pub. It wasn't my first foray into business. I was the one with the biggest credit card limit. So we put a £6,000 deposit down and bought ourselves a Victorian baths. Over 18 months, we changed the license and changed the planning and raised a bit of money, £500,000. And in November '97, opened the Deep End, which was a live music venue. And really, all of my history, everything starts and stems from that as far as hospitality. I'd worked some bar jobs prior to that. And, you know, from that moment on, I was a licensee and owner-operator. And I went on to run some other businesses up until my 30s, where I couldn't spin the plates anymore and basically started again. And nowadays, we work for probably 1,400 locations across some amazing brands. We love what we do. We love our customers. We love our customers. We want to make sure that the platforms that we provide and the advice that we provide and the help we provide our customers enables them to grow and plays a part in their own story. So, number one, I think the most important thing to get right in all of this, and it's the thing that people still struggle a little bit, but actually, in effect, it's content. And the first bit of content that you need to sort of understand when you start out in your CRM journey is the customer value exchange. And really, that's what's in it for me, what's in it for the consumer, your customer. What are they going to get out of giving you their data? Because that's what you're asking them. And the top and bottom of this is that a newsletter sign up on a website just doesn't cut it. And a tick box on a form saying receive news and special offers just doesn't cut it. There's a lot of competition for data. And since GDPR, what's become really prevalent is that consumers want to know what they're getting in for when they hand over their data to brands. And really, I didn't really know what this was until 3 or 4 years ago. But when I opened the Deep End, we were pretty on the ball. We had a web designer. This is 1997. We built out a website. We built out a membership, and really this business AIRSHIP started out of that. So what we did was launch a membership system where we basically went out to our local community. We asked them if they wanted to be part of it. And then we created a card, which was called the Deep Ender card. And the reason we created a card was that we wanted to get around a licensing problem that the licensing authority had said that I couldn't discount. And that was the first new license in Sheffield for about 20 years. And it was a 600 capacity location in the roughest part of town. So they didn't want me doing offers and promotions. And that wasn't really our bag anyway. But I needed to compete locally. So I created the Deep Ender card, and it was £10 or £20 to buy it. but we went around the local shops and we created a value exchange for our customers. And that meant that customers could get a discount in all of the local shops and save 10% and 5% here and there. And they got something on their birthday. They could get the upstairs bar at half price. We collected far too much data about the customers. And you can see there on that application form, which was a paper application form at the time, that we were asking them their favorite drinks choices. And I think probably my thinking there was that we'd go to the drinks companies and get a ton of money. We asked them their favorite nights and lots of different information. And it started out that we were sending letters out through the post, and the deep end of card there was a picture and an issuance date on it. But the value exchange helps define your strategy. It means that you can set out your stall across all of those different data collection channels. And it means that you can also control the amount of data that you collect that can feed that strategy. For your customers, they know what it is that they're getting into. And I've got some examples there, like the Leon's Lover Club and the Byron Club, and a little independent that's next door to us in Sheffield, which is a Friends of. But it can be a club, it can be a VIP, it can be an A-list, it can be anything. But it means that your team know what you're doing. So when somebody comes in and shows their phone or presents something, or fills out a booking form around a specific URL, it means that your team know why that customer is asking for that thing. And it just means that when you're launching Christmas or you're doing your rebirth after the COVID crisis is over, it means that you can take all of your customer data on a journey. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to get the same message, but it means that it just makes it easier as far as the strategy. So top tips on this really is to set out your stall early and don't overcomplicate it. Be really clear in your messaging and let people know what they're going to get and how often. If they're going to get something on their birthday, tell them that they'll get something on their birthday. Because when it comes round to their birthday and they receive that automated marketing, it means that they're more likely to take it up, because automation just delivers a promise. And the strategy of a value exchange helps do that. Go big early in the journey. There's a lot of competition out there, and really you want to make sure that your customers are engaging with you. So it's no good doing a half-cocked offer. You need to give something of value to people. Be really clear in the understanding of it as well, for operations purposes, and only collect data that's relevant. You know, we get a lot of customers that are absolutely hankering around basket data. And for a lot of businesses, that's down the line. You don't need to get basket data from immediately. You can get that over time, and you can do a soon spend to start with. Keep the data segmented locally. Some businesses still sort of, when you sign up for a newsletter on a website that's got many locations, that data doesn't float. It just sits on the head office. It doesn't sit actually down to a specific location. But customers want to be marketed to on a location by location basis. And dynamically pull in specifically information about the venue and team members on a local level. Again, you know, brand is good, but actually people like that community and like that localism. So if you're doing that, if you've got many locations, then make sure you might be including the manager's name, but certainly the booking links and the main call to action need to go to that venue's page, or at least go to a form where that venue is pre-selected. Be very specific on big ticket opportunities. So events, occasions, and USPs. And again, you know, if you offer party packages, if you're doing weddings, if you're doing whatever it might be, make sure that the photo in that email that you're sending out is of that individual location, because that customer's used to that location. So why go with a generic message? You know, content manage those individual photos into the individual content manage those individual photos into the individual emails. and ensure that links within the comms go to the right place. So that's really important. There's nothing more frustrating for customers than clicking on an email and that email then taking them to the front page of a website where they then have to find a button to click before they actually get through to the booking form or the feedback form or the gift voucher purchase page. Number two, there's so much data. Don't blow your minds with it. So this here is an example of data collection channels, which is in a typical restaurant, a pub, a hotel, you know. So you've got everything from pay at table anti-clockwise round to customer feedback. That's transactional data. That's data that should be collected every time the customer interacts with it. And I'll come on to why that's important in a second. You've then got your web signups and contact us and your marketing information, but all of that data builds up a single customer view. And I appreciate that some people will be looking at that and going, well, we don't use any, we don't do kiosks, we don't have pay at table, but all you need is 3 of these and to be collecting transactional data for something like feedback, Wi-Fi, customer feedback, and table booking. And what that will give you is an opportunity to understand the recency and frequency of the customer visit. And the data that you get from this, a lot of it is common data. So the date and timestamp, the basket data connected to feedback, or the basket data connected to a promo code or a single-use voucher. So that common data then can be stored in a sensible way. But it gives you get a whole load of information, almost too much information. So make sure that when you're looking at this and thinking about your CRM, you know, you're looking and speaking to platforms that can provide a service. And AIRSHIP isn't the only one out there. But, you know, a good CRM, MailChimp just doesn't do it, because it doesn't have the integrations with the different partners and platforms that you're using in your business, which means that you can never get transactional data from it. A little, well, very timely on Deliveroo, Just Eat and Uber Eats and those other delivery platforms as well. Obviously, they're not going to pass you their customer data, but this is a key strategic driver for a lot of businesses. So just bob something in the bag that maybe gives the customer a 15% off click and collect on the next when you're opening your doors again. But put something in the bag, attach it to the bag, that when the customer opens it up, it could be a feedback slip that they actually then go online to a dedicated URL on your website and sign up with you, and maybe get something back instantly. But it drives through to a group on your CRM, which is Deliveroo, which is Uber Eats, or which is, you know, home delivery group, because then you can use that as a segment to market to in the future. So all of that's really good, but how do you put it to use? And what we do at AIRSHIP and what other businesses do is, obviously, you're going to build a single customer view. Okay, it kind of goes without saying, nobody really knows what a single customer view is, by the way. I think that different people have different perceptions of it. What we do is we understand loyalty from it. So taking all of that transactional data, what you see here is this is for a pub business with 12 locations over 90 days. And what you've got down the side here in the first column is the number of visits. And then in the second column, the number of unique customers that have made those visits. And then in the fourth column there, you've got the total number of visits made. And what this is showing is that 17,500 customers visited in the period. Okay, and they visited 43,000 times. And the number of customers that visited once was 11,000, and that made up 64% of the unique, but actually only made up 25% of the overall. And I think that what's important here is that when you get down to 10 or more visits, you've got these 610 unique customers that actually made up 33%, 32.76% of the overall visits in the period. So what do you do with that information? Well, for me, I think that you just want to understand and profile who those 610 customers are. And you want to have a look at them, and you want to understand their demographic information. But what's important is how you get these people that have visited once, twice, 3 times to visit more often. And you can do that through a loyalty scheme. You can do it through a rewards program. And for ourselves, we like rewards programs. I think that obviously lots of people have loyalty apps, and certainly feeds of data we take from loyalty apps. But if you do a nice, easy reward scheme, then in some ways it negates the necessity for having a loyalty app, because you can just do a surprise and delight. And you can run loyalty without a customer having to download an app, and just run it through rewards. We do this through segmentation, and simple segmentation as prospects, people who haven't visited, through to bronze, silver, gold, and platinum customers. And you can set up different rules on this based on the data that's stored from all of that historic transactional data. And basically trigger email and SMS journeys off the back of this that will then hopefully drive a customer to visit more. And this isn't, 50-50 marketing. This is live data that you can understand and basically just run a report and then run activity and then run a second report a month later and actually see if it's had an impact. There's a load more information that's that's an easy opportunity to drive sales. But remember though, collect only information that delivers your initial strategy. Okay, so whether it's a 6-month strategy or a 12-month strategy, don't go overboard with it. Stay within the remits of that strategy. So from all of those different data sources, you get day of week. You also get time of day. You can take an assumed spend or a known spend dependent on the level of data that you're collecting. From feedback platforms, or if you run your own loop, you can use Net Promoter Score and understand promoter, passive and detractor, and then target by that. You can look at occasion and guest count and bookings count. And then obviously you've got survey data and preference data that can add to your CRM as well as the spend. I think that as far as Rebirth is concerned, the occasion and bookings information is going to be really important as people go back and as doors start to open again. And I know that we're thinking now about how customers are going to pounce on Christmas and make Christmas the best it would be. And obviously you're going to start that process by going to the people that booked last year. But also people who have had birthdays and celebrated birthdays with you, who booked and had parties or visited in June or July, whenever it's going to be, last year, going to those people and seeing if they're looking to come out again. A little bit on the platforms now, people that know me will know, and know AIRSHIP will know that we're pretty big on collaboration. We integrate with lots of partners. So if you're speaking to a partner, whether it's click or collect or order to table, whether it's a new website company or a feedback company or a booking provider, just make sure that they integrate with your CRM, whoever you use or are thinking of using. And if they're not integrated, you need to contract them to make sure that they map in a fixed time to integrate. And this is really important because we're a little bit of a law to ourselves, tech companies, in a lot of ways. There's lots of different people pulling in a lot of different directions as to what needs to be developed next. So you need to find out if they've first got an API, because there's the key. That provides the documentation to the coders to fix 2 platforms together. Understand any limitations to the integration, i.e. what the data is that they're going to be passed. Some of the loyalty platforms have an ownership of data. So AIRSHIP are a processor of data, whereas in some cases, some platforms are controllers of data, which means they have a right to use it as well. So make sure that you're clear on how they're going to do that. You might ask them to offer a privacy impact assessment so that you know how the logic works with subscriptions and unsubscribes. Get all of the data out of them, not just the customers that opt in. You're not really running an email list here. You're running a CRM, so that should include all of the data, because although, you know, a lot of this deck is about automation and customer journeys and things like that, actually it's not the be all and end all. Insight and understanding helps drive your business forward. And I've already said, if you're working with an app provider, make sure that you get the data from them. As far as people that we work with, it's a ton of people. We work with loads of great platforms out there that offer great services and play a part in a restaurant, a bar's operation. And those platforms that we work with, those businesses that we work with, you know, the data that comes from them is absolutely intrinsic to a really solid CRM. Section 3 is really about automation. This is a little bit of a favorite slide picture of mine, which is Ocado. It's Ocado's warehouse, and all of those little robots there are packing tubs that are out for delivery. Really clever stuff. And automation used to be a bit of a dream. Used to be you know, people would kind of really, struggle with it. And hospitality has struggled with it because of that transactional data. You know, we look a lot at what the e-commerce platforms are doing and take a lead in our development from what e-com is doing, because e-commerce has all of the data, because every engagement with every customer is tracked. As far as email is concerned, and potentially SMS as well, we believe that a customer should be receiving around 40 to 60 emails a year across all of those different journeys. And a birthday journey might be 5 or 6 emails, dependent on what your facilities are for people to book with you or book a big space with you. You need to ensure, though, again, that you keep your content up to date and make sure it's relevant. What you don't want to be doing as a customer is getting the same birthday email as you got the previous year. You know, whether it's a change of style or color or text, make sure it's relevant. And key revenue opportunities should be goal-driven. And what I mean by that is actually that there's a ton of stuff to sell. There's so many more revenue streams nowadays than there was previously for restaurants and bars and for hospitality. You've got obviously the traditional walk-in where people, you know, you're keeping people engaged through content, and you know, they walk past your one of your locations and they drop by. You've got pre-booking, which is sort of the staple. You've got party and occasions, and then you've got your national events that you can hang off as well, and which make great content. But also you've got corporate, and think how you manage your corporate bookings and what part they play in your CRM and overall strategy. And then you might be showing sports, you might be running events. Obviously there's a gift card side of it and pre-sold revenue with experiences and merchandise. And then if you've got rooms, there's rooms and then takeaway and delivery. So there's a whole host of different opportunities to generate revenue. And those opportunities should be pushed through all of those different automations. So a welcome journey might be 6 or 8 emails over the first 30 days. And because you're collecting that transactional data from your other platforms, it means that you can then suppress broadcasts to people who have then engaged with you. So if that person's clicked that birthday email at 56 days out and downloaded a voucher or booked, you don't need to send up those follow-up emails to them. In fact, it's bad to do so because it creates confusion for the customer. You can also think about building dynamic content that's driven out of your CMS on your website. And this is something that we do quite a bit. It means that you can merge content into national sends for bigger chains, bigger groups that keep the data local. But even on a simple level, you know, if you've got 6 or 8 locations and those 6 or 8 locations have a GM or somebody who's responsible for the booking of events or parties, you might just want to keep merging their information into the emails. And you could do that from our platform, or you could do it from your own CMS. But again, it goes back to that localization piece. But like all things, I think the key here is to start simple and to understand and think, what's the value exchange? What's the key strategies for our business where we want to drive revenue via our CRM and via our content channels, and making sure that that's well mapped out. So what are the sales opportunities? Where do we drive cash? What data do we need to collect to drive those opportunities? We need to know when they booked last year or made an inquiry last year. We need to know people that were in our venues in December. We want to know we want to roll out a vegetarian menu, so we want to know who's vegetarian or vegan. We want to market to families, so we need to know who families are. And on our journey of welcome emails or on our sign-up form to our value exchange, which carries much more value than just signing up to a newsletter, we're going to ask people, do you usually visit with kids? You might ask them, are you responsible for booking the parties for your business? So you can ask segmentation questions that then deliver on key sales opportunities. And you don't have to go hard at that. You can do it over time with people, make sure that those people are segmented. You can think about what you can automate. You know, what can I automate in my journeys outside of my campaign sends that will also lead to those key sales opportunities. And those automations then can also help with segmentation. And finally on that, I think that you need to understand the goals. And having goals and knowing what success is means that you'll be far better at your job and far better at your strategy as well. So you know how many people booked last year in December, or how much pre-sold revenue you gained, or how many gift cards you sold, or how much feedback you got. And actually, you know, a percentage increase in those numbers will help you understand when you're being successful. So set out your goals. And finally, re-engaging lapsed customers. So this is really imperative that people do this. And we struggle on our own platform for some of our customers to grasp this and actually put it in place. But it's really important. So we're an email service provider. Before COVID kicked in, we were sending around 4 million emails a week. I think as customers, brands were telling customers what they were doing around COVID, I think on one day we sent about 6 or 8 million email in a day. But those emails that are being sent, if you're using an email service provider with a shared IP, which is like MailChimp and other providers, I think you just need to be careful that you need to keep your list very clean. Because what the ESPs do, Google, Hotmail, Yahoo, is that they look at the quality of the IP address and the quality of the send that's coming through, and they score the emails based on the interaction by the customer. So if the customer deletes or unsubscribes without opening the email, then they might score down that IP, score down that send, and actually send more through to spam. So setting up a do or die email is really important for your email marketing results. So making sure that you send out, if a customer's not opened an email on your database for 12 months, then they're not likely to open up another email from you. So sending out an email to them with an amazing subject line, with an amazing offer that tempts them back to re-engage with you is critical. And if they then don't re-engage with you, just mark them as do not send on the system. They can still be opted in. They're still part of your CRM, but they're marked to do not send. And that will mean that your open rates lift and your email deliverability gets overall better. And don't be tight with that. You know, give them something good. And that is it. Thank you very much. If anybody's got any questions, they can get in touch with me down at airship.co.uk. And yeah, thank you very much, Mark.
That was amazing. Less of a 101 and more of a 505 or a 606, but just really great information. And also what's good about this is just the fact that, you know, it's helping people think strategically, and where you're at with them is, you know, a lot of people are just going, I've got an email to send this week. It's a tick box exercise. It's one email, one size fits all, and also flogging dead horses, you know. someone that's not reacted to your email in 2 years is, you know, not all of a sudden going to go, oh, wow, I better have a wee look at that, you know. And I think coming out of, you know, the back of the COVID scare and all these other things, I think people are more than ever going to be into this one-to-one marketing. You know, how are you making it personal to me, relevant to me? Do you really understand what's going on? And also I would take some advice from, I saw an amazing panel with three just incredible human beings, three incredible women at the RMI, and one of them was from, I think it was maybe Lucille, I can't exactly remember, but came from Inception Group. And just the amount of thought, which was, we are going to start with the EPOS data to market to that person on social. So if they love espresso martini, I'm going to hit you up with espresso martinis socially until you come in and do it, you know, in real life. And I think, you know, there's a certain amount of that, which is single customer views. I think you're right as well. I don't think, I always see it like, when you get to the end of the expedition sort of thing, it's like, well, what now? You know, people plan in 2-year programs to get to single customer view. And once they get it, they don't even know what to do with it. You know, it's like, oh, right, okay. So I think that's a bit of an issue. But I think that whole thought, which is get as many segments as you possibly can to be as stealthily, surgically targeted as you can, I think's, you know, absolutely right thing to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem people have is time with this, which is why they need it to be results driven. Because if they can prove the results, then they can get more budget to do better things. But you know, if you've got 40 segments, you're going to struggle to market to 40 segments. Whereas if you've got 8, then you can probably do content for 8 and do more targeted sends and you know, and target those different automations to those people as well.
And it's more segments than most people actually have anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You know, but I think also, you know, just there's a lot of testing and learning to be doing. You know, when's the right time to send? What, you know, reaction do you get the best? You know, all these types of things. And you know, at lastminute.com, I mean, we were relentless on that. You know, like just changing the color on something, the modularization of an email, you know, subject lines, you know, and all the rest of it. And not forgetting also, email gets this is email dead thing for forever, right? And if you're looking at open rates, what we at now, 17%, average 17, 22, round about that area, that's more effective than your social is. And you're sweating it about what that burger post looks like, right?
Yeah, and the automations, you'll get 40 or 50% on those welcome emails. They're so critical to get them right. You know, those customers have just engaged with you. So if you grab their attention, I mean, you know, one of the biggest myths out there is, you know, email being dead or email fatigue as well. Customers aren't fatigued by email. They're getting so many interactions a day.
Well, they're fatigued by bad emails.
Yeah, I mean,
what if you send a good one, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it happened at Pret. You know, when I was there, you know, we only sent maybe once every couple of months, maybe once a month max. But boy, was it worth reading when you got it.
Yeah.
You know, and if you look at something like Pop Bitch, I don't know if you're signed up to that kind of over the years, but it's like kind of celeb, salacious gossip sort of thing. Still worth reading, you know, and huge readership. It's typed in Courier, you know, and some links. There's a bit of advertising in it. Still, you know, I'm overjoyed when that comes out. And at the moment, they're doing a daily one to keep everyone sort of having a bit of fun. But just if it's start at making it worth reading.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Leon did a really good fortnightly fix. John Vincent is
for sure. Yeah.
It's amazing, you know, and he's really getting into the detail of what they're doing in this crisis. And I think that's so important to keep your customers engaged through this period, even if you've got your doors shut, you know, keep them engaged, keep them, let them know what's going on out there, let them know what other people are doing, you know, be brand proud. If there's a brand over there that's doing something incredible that normally would be your competitor, then just talk about that brand, you know, without a shadow of a doubt.
John Vincent soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I'll let you go. And that was a nice cameo. But yeah, so listen, thanks so much for taking the time. It's been amazing to catch up with you, and you know, I'm hoping we'll have many more chats. You know, and I'd love to do more to support your team and the airship thing and Toggle and all that stuff. Because I think you're doing some great things. So yeah, and I know the audience will get a lot out of this. So yeah, thanks so much, Dan. Thank you. Have a good day.
Chat soon. Okay. Thanks.
See
See
you.
you.